All right, welcome Taurus. You've probably already noticed, if you've been watching other videos for Sun, Moon, and Rising, that this video looks different from the others at the beginning. There's a reason. I'm sorry, but what happened is we got about a third of the way through the startup process and everything froze. The whole system's froze. And I don't want to waste all the work that we've done. So I'm going to kind of backtrack here for you. This is Terra Lumination. And that's for you, Taurus. This is your general report for the time period we call January 2018. The routine is, of course, do your cross-watching, whatever they call it, for other people in your life that are significant to you. Also watch for your own sun, moon, and rising and squish it all together and turn it into your own personal private reading if you want. Now, cards were already well shuffled in advance, and also we shuffled up to the very last second, and then when we cut, and then we pulled the spread. And we were just going to get started with the reading the spread here before everything's froze solid. Now, before we get into that, I want to add a couple things. Okay, we've been doing this for everybody. For you, Taurus, you've just come out of a 2.5-year period with Saturn and Sagittarius over there in your 8th house. Okay, it might have been quite an awakening period for you about getting in touch with your deep soul intimacy. Parts of yourself, the most deeply buried parts of yourself that would have been normally in the land of the unknown, but it's been explored and come to the surface, and you come out the other side with much greater wisdom and knowledge and awareness now in that area. And the question now is, what do we do with it? So all these planets that were here at the end of December are now piling up here in Capricorn in January. Let me show you. This is the Capricorn new moon, okay, the middle of January. It's a monster, okay? You've got Venus, Sun, Moon, Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, all piled up there, up here in Capricorn. Now, for you, Taurus, it's going to look like this. That'll be in your 9th house of like higher knowledge, wisdom, awareness, getting in touch with higher consciousness, seeking higher consciousness, vision, mission, greater understanding, and bringing that down here to Earth in tangible ways that have value for the long term. And there's other interpretations too, but that's the big one that I'm feeling. And it's a massive brand new reboot, restart in your life for this area, okay? And eventually, after a 3-year learning period here, it's going to move into Aquarius over there, your career sector. All right, anyway, I just wanted to get that on record for you because I've been doing this for everyone else for this particular month, okay? So there we go. Big new beginnings. Up in your 9th house. Fresh boots, fresh restarts. Now going back to this, we already pulled all of this and we were just going to start here. This is what I think of as a journey, okay? Like so. Okay? It's a heart. Can you see the heart shape? Like so. And this is your heart at the very center, every single beat of your life, okay? Pulsing away. And over here is circumstantial energy. Now, when I pulled the cards, I described their, let's say, nature. This would be your core heart center, okay? This would be legacy energy, energy you're bringing in with you from so-called the past, perhaps the end of the big Saturn cycle in Sagittarius, everything that you've learned, the hard way, no matter what. You're bringing that in with you and whatever else you bring in with you. Call it baggage, history, past lives, whatever. Over here is the ever-present now. And it is in the now where you own your power. It's in the now where we have our full awareness. And it's in the now where most people do not want to stay. They'd much rather ponder and hang out in the past or dwell and anticipate a future, anything to avoid the present. Because in the present is where you own your power and where you have to make decisions to empower yourself. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They'd rather outsource their lives and decisions to others, like codes of practice, ways of being, religions, job, or whatever it is, other people's code books. But for you, Taurus, we're saying here, if you have a high degree of, let's say, determination to own your own life, then you would have a very high level of participation in your decision-making process over here. And in so doing, you face into your so-called future here, where there's always a sense of risk and reward. Like, what if I mess up on my decisions? Oh, what if I make a good decision? And then coming back to your present moment, figuring out we're going to help you here now, Terra Illumination. How do we make these best decisions that are working for you, Taurus? That's best for you, okay? Because what's best for you is best for everyone else, okay? And then in that case, these are the consequential energies you might recognize. If you think that life just comes at you, and then you have to react, then this feels like more fate, like you're always in a battle with life and it's always miserable. Or it might be awesome, but you're very vulnerable if you outsource everything to fate. This is the energy of what if. We already talked about it. And this is the energy of prospects. What does this all mean? Where's it all going? And under here is the circumstantial energy. Call it the weather. And for you, it's kind of like this. Okay. With the 8 of Cups here, it's a feeling that the weather is changing. The weather is changing and there's no going back. It's like going back to ancient times before GPSs, before weather stations and satellites and all that. And the only thing we had was our deepest intuition and our deep soul connection with nature. And then we have to make our decisions accordingly. And everything in your circumstantial world is telling you, dear Taurus, it is time to move on. There's a whole level of spiritual awakening, understanding ahead here. Especially, I think this is much to do with, going back here, to this new moon in Capricorn, this big new 9th house going on a spiritual journey up here, okay, towards your higher consciousness. And there's kind of no going back, and it's okay. It's okay to be feeling sentimental about the past and everything that you have loved, everyone who has loved you and everyone that you have loved, given in exchange, and it's all good. It's all good. Even when it was bad, it was still good, but it's still time to move on. But there might be very little sense of guidance or protection because we're just kind of going into pretty much the unknown, except for what your intuition is telling you what to do and where to go. And that's just circumstantial energy. So what about in your heart, the heart of you, okay, which might not even have any language. You might not even have any words for it. Well, you have judgment, which I feel is like an endorsement of what we were already just talking about. Brand new starts, brand new beginnings, where you are released, you are redeemed, you are forgiven, you are blessed, and you are now, even though you might not feel it or be aware of it, deep, deep down from spirit, you are guided and you are protected, okay? And your heart knows it and wants that and deserves that. You wouldn't have this unless you deserve this. It's like a complete wipeout. It's like, dear Taurus, however you messed up, it's okay. You are forgiven. However you have shared your love, it's wonderful. Thank you very, very much. And we, your guardian angels, and all of heaven above, bless you. We love you. We adore you. And we're saying it's time to reboot. You are healing and you are healed. Time to start all over again. And guess what? You're doing it with everybody else too. It's okay because we're all in the same boat, as you can see, rising up from whatever you want to call them, your graves, your coffins, your stasis, your what you might call your history, your legacy, and you get the complete redemption, reconciliation. And this is also forgiveness. Be forgiving and be forgiven. Okay? It's the same from others towards you. They are forgiving you and you forgive them because that's the ultimate redemption. That's the ultimate release. Okay? So what are you bringing in with you? Let's have a look. Okay. Moving on again for sure. Wow. So it might feel like, it feels to me like we're getting a double dose of this restarts and moving on type of energy into a whole new life and a whole new world where you have for sure, definitely collected higher knowledge, wisdom, greater understanding, truth, and honesty and clarity of perception that you've never known before, but you now own them, you now have them. And that's very, very liberating because you can take that with you as, let's say, your toolkit for the future. And you know that, and you also have this deep sense of awareness that you're going to be leaving behind things that are basically no longer yours anymore. Even if it's very deeply loved, okay? I'm trying to put these two together here in a way that makes sense for you guys so that you don't take all of this personally, because this indicates, my feeling here is tremendous change to the point of upheaval. Part of it is something that is deeply yearned for, deeply deserved, deeply rewarded, and now you're getting it. but it also means leaving behind a lot. So there might be a sense of security and sense of disruption, insecurity. I mean, the thing is about Taurus, you so much love your sense of stability, security, and status, let's say status quo, and being the sign that represents earth, matter, substance, money, things, stuff, the tangible world, then having to go through something like this that we're talking about here, as wonderful as this is, with this massive Capricorn new moon, for example, it's still very daunting. It's still very daunting in its own way. And you know that and you feel that, and it might be almost fearful for you, but you deep inside you know that this is the way to go, and it's going to bring you to new levels of peace and understanding that you know exist. You know it's out there, but in our lifetimes, it's called a journey, okay, to get there, okay? You can't just sort of click your fingers and then this just happens. We actually have to live through this. That's the whole purpose of why we are alive in these physical bodies, okay? So in the ever-present now, okay, we have, oh, victory. Well, it's like the well done card. Well done, Taurus. It's almost like, okay, so maybe you have endured a lot of turbulence. Maybe you have endured a lot of pain and suffering. Maybe you have enjoyed tremendous love and you really, really deep down know what love is. You know what it is, you own it and you have it. And it's not something that you like, you know, hold it into bondage. It's something that is just dispersed and shared and radiated, and it's absorbed and enjoyed, and like moment by moment in life. And you've done that, and you've done it to a really good extent, and it's time to start again to a whole new level, and you're doing that, you understand it. And with this card here, the Six of Wands, to me it's an indication that the reality is, you know, you've done a really good job. You know it, you feel it in your guts, in your bones, in your heart, your soul, your body, and you get affirmation from, let's say, your angels, from your circumstances, your world around you. Signs are speaking to you. You get that ultimate reflection back from your environment, to the point of literally talking with your angels that, you know what, you've done a tremendous job, Taurus. And yes, we're going to start again, but you know, give yourself a break during this transition period here in January, where you can applaud yourself. You can literally, you don't have to gloat or anything, but this is you having a really profound, stark awareness, getting the reflection back from your significant others in your life, in your world around you, that you are very deeply loved, very appreciated, and deserve everything, all the good stuff that you can possibly get in life. And as much as there might be a sense of leaving behind, as much like, let's say, emotional, you know, that physical sensation in your body of leaving things that you love, people, places, circumstances, attitudes, perceptions, thoughts, beliefs, recalibrating, starting from scratch, bringing the new higher levels of understanding and awareness with you, you've done a really, really good job, because not everybody can endure this. You might have had a very challenging time. Now you're coming out and seeing that, you know, okay, the journey starts all over again. So what? But you're coming in really, really strong. Although it might have, let's just say, your heart might be palpitating. You might need a few tissues. Like, you know what can happen when you get these award ceremonies and when you get these congratulations? You can feel so good, so loved, and so appreciated that you end up, you know, needing some tissues. I'm sorry, I'm wigging out a little bit here for you, Taurus, because it feels to me like you've done such a good job, and you've taken on so much for yourself and for the sake of others. And they really appreciate you, and you're getting that endorsement and appreciation from others, okay? And they're really happy for you, and they want you to succeed, and they want you to be happy, even though those others who love you and appreciate you might be part of this population here. Okay, it's okay. You still have their soul energy with you, and they still have your soul energy with them. Excuse me, I'm getting a little bit gooped up here. Sorry about that. Oh, God. I don't know why I got caught off guard here. I'm sorry. Anyway, making your decisions in the now. Okay, it might be fearful for you because, as wonderful as this might be, the reality is you might be really scared of what lies ahead because of making profound decisions. Knowing that with this energy of Capricorn here, we're not messing around. It's very serious stuff here. So it's like when you're making your decisions about all this moving on and stuff, you might be making decisions from the perspective of sensing loss, feeling loss, feeling lost and rejected, and being worried about that, and letting that sensation, let's say the fearful side, own you in the decision-making process, which leaves you very vulnerable. Even though you're very, very strong, you're also very weak at the same time because you're a human being, okay? For all of this, you're still a human being knowing that these big changes are coming and like starting from absolute scratch again. It's just like, wait a minute, I've endured so much and you're telling me, Terra Illumination, I have to start all over again over here and it's going to be even more challenging. What happens if I mess up? What am I leaving behind? Is anyone going to love me? Am I going to love anyone? Is it going to work out? Is there going to be a good solid stability in my life as a Taurus? Or am I going to be dumped, impoverished? What's going wrong? And so this, I feel this is coloring the decision-making process right now with a little bit of fear, okay? So how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to make decisions that work for you? So like if you're carrying yourself with great dignity in the present, but deep down inside of you, you're scared, okay? It's understandable, okay? Everyone is going to have a little bit of fear and trepidation with this. It isn't just like a, sobriety roadside check. Excuse me, person, can you roll down your window and show me your driving license? I'll give you a breathalyzer. It's more than that. It's like, excuse me, we are pulling you over to the side of the road for a complete stop. This isn't even a traffic stop. This isn't even like a roadside sobriety test. This is a full-on traffic stop, okay? We want to see everything. Show us your insurance, driving license records. We want to pull up your police records, everything. We want to know what's going on. I'm not trying to scare you, Taurus, but Capricorn energy does not mess around. It has so many planets here pounding in that one area. It could feel intimidating. Okay, so how are we going to make loving decisions, okay, that work for you? Work for you, Taurus, so that you can enjoy your restart and reboot and make the best of it on this new amazing journey. Now, do remember that Capricorn energy, as big and tough and as intimidating it might be, it's also very harmonious for you, okay? So don't forget that, all right? So when you're making your decisions, remember, this is not a relationship reading, even though you might see relationship dynamics coming up here. When you're making your decisions, please understand that it's like you have to be extremely aware of how it's like almost like what I would call self-sabotage. Like if you let yourself be owned by your fears, like what if things go wrong? What if I mess up? Who am I going to lose? What am I going to lose? How am I going to lose it? If you let that stuff own you, then you end up owned by the shadow. Okay. Now, if you admit and you let's say you get a sensation of like with the Three of Swords here, that sense of where uh, let's say damage, pain, and suffering may occur or has occurred or will occur in your decision-making process, where it involves perhaps a triangulation in relationships, or where there's two people in relationship, but there is trouble, and where perhaps third-party counseling is required, or where there's a deep conscious awareness of what actually in the very, very depths of your heart, Taurus, is telling you that needs attention. Because if you are carrying like the fear of loss, okay, which is a very, very big deal for Taurus. Taurus does not like to be, let's say, out in the cold, okay? It's the worst possible scenario. So when you're making decisions moving forward, it's very, very important to like pay attention to what your heart is telling you. Truly, 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 what is your heart telling you at the moment when you make a decision? And listen, like if it says, pay attention to the energy of betrayal of self, okay? Because a lot of negative consequences and experiences happen in life when we betray ourselves. And the ultimate betrayal of self is when we abandon our decisions to our shadows and our fears and we make the decisions accordingly. In other words, we stop our own evolution because we're scared of this and we're scared of this, instead of making the bold, brave decisions to be who you really are and enjoy the full liberation that comes with redemption. It's almost like the feeling of, you know, like being trapped and captive, and then preferring to stay captive to these types of energies rather than take the risks of going into, let's say, a great new beyond where there is very, like in your physical body right now, even though spiritually your heart might know it, you in the physical body might not be so uh, fully trusting and aware of how things are going to work out. So it can be very, very scary in some ways. And of course, you wouldn't want to have like to be heartbroken, obviously. This is not a relationship reading, but it's hard not to sort of mention the relationship dynamic when the hearts come up. Now, remember, this is a swords card. This is not a cups card. It's just that the heart is a very, very big red flag. It's like a very, very powerful signal. Like whenever your heart is hurting for whatever reason, when it comes to the decision-making process, understand how it's extremely easy to self-sabotage oneself in those situations and how you can betray yourself. And then once you know that and you're aware of that, then you can recalibrate and start to make decisions about what does work for you when it comes to choosing the right people, places, and circumstances with whom you relate going forward. Because a lot of our outcomes in terms of happiness and new starts and new beginnings, new worlds, new spiritual evolutions, new pathways, uh, we experience those in the context of our world, which a lot of it is constituted by other people, the population who reflects us in that world, okay? Our mirrors, okay? Now, making decisions, where would this lead? Okay, okay, getting back to, okay, if you were scared by these cards, I would understand. But please see the positive in here. By being deeply, fully aware of how you could be at the mercy of your own worst fears and how that can translate into self-betrayal, then that should be a very, very powerful alarm to wake up and be aware that you don't have to make decisions based on fear. Instead, you can make decisions that are based on confidence, knowing that you're going to win, knowing that you're going to move on, knowing that you're going to find peace and understanding, knowing that you're on a spiritual path, even if you have to brainwash yourself to convince yourself, even if all your support system and guardian angels and friends and families are there for you, if deep inside you're still quaking from fear about this new chapter in life unfolding, understandable. At least you're aware of it, okay? And then when you have that awareness, then you can make bold, brave, courageous decisions in the now without being held hostage to the fear and the shadow of what if I mess up? Because if you do it right, when you do it right, now we're not moving on to the outcomes card here, not the what if card here, but what is actually happening here. This process, as fearful as it might be for you, is actually a doorway to new opportunities, a new start, a new beginning, a new form of abundance that you've never really known before. A completely new paradigm of what like worldly abundance could mean to you. Worldly stability, wealth, growth, opportunity, abundance, but in brand new ways, because you might, as a Taurus, you would probably be very deeply vested in the status quo and the existing ways of being. And then being said, okay, it's time for release and start all over. Well done, congratulations. And you kind of go, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, heaven. Thank you, dear angels. Oh no. No, 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 no. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here? But the reality is, it is a good start. It is very harmonious. It is very supportive of you. All that Capricorn energy here is literally a massive, brand new reboot, restart. Please think long term with this. Long, long term. And it's very, very comfortable energy for you. Once you get in the groove of it, and once you learn incrementally, decision by decision by decision, that you don't have to be owned by the sense of fear, betrayal, loss, self-sabotage, and the energies of like, oh my gosh, am I just going to be out in the dumps? Am I going to lose everything? No. Okay, let's have a look. What if? Okay, you see, like 5 minutes ago, I was crying my eyes out here. Here's this wonderful Six of Wands card for you, Taurus, right in the present moment. And I was crying my eyes out. And then we get through this. Looks like a horror story here, but it comes out good. And so also when we get to this point here, when you understand making decisions, it's so much about how you determine your outcome. Happiness is a decision. Happiness is a choice. So if you want to be owned by your fears and your shadows of potential loss, okay, then this is what you lose. You lose your happiness that you can own by your decision. However, when you make loving decisions that are above and beyond, let's say, the physical fears, where you're not bound by the physical, let's say, the limitations of our three-dimensional physical life, and you allow for the bigger, grander picture, and you make decisions accordingly, then, and you own it in the way that you've already learned how to do, then this is what you get. Okay? So I'm sorry this is turning into a super long reading. I didn't mean to go this long. I got so carried away and I had to restart and everything. I'm a little bit shaky from the whole thing. Where does this take us? Okay. Whoa. A brand new code. It takes you to a brand new way of living where you get to restart and reboot and rewrite your own code. You don't have to be owned by fears and shadows, the past, or anything like that. You can move on. You can experience forgiveness, joy, and redemption, reconciliation, have a complete restart, build a brand new world, brand new beginnings, think very long term here. And very gently, what happens is, you know, whether it's month by month, week by week, or year by year, you start to rewrite the code of your life according to a higher code, a higher understanding. You could even say that this is very deeply in alignment with this big Capricorn new moon. Please think of this as long term. Um, Even though it's a monthly reading just for January, I think this has longer term implications and a trajectory here. I'm not going to say anything more. I've already way overdone it. I've over recorded here. I'm sorry. So please reinterpret however you want. Please make the best of it. And the other reports for the relationships will be coming up soon. Okay. So well done, Taurus. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Bye bye. And thank you for choosing Tarot Illumination. Bye.